Greetings and beyond the new, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jeremy Wormy, and I'm back with a Reality War review, the season finale for this god-awful show, and my god, I couldn't be more overjoyed at this point in time. But we still have to go through the episode. Ultimately, though, guys, this is one of the most pathetic, boring episodes I have ever laid my eyes on. The ultimate conclusion to this battle with Ronnie is dealt with within 20 minutes of the episode, and then we get this whole other side plot taking up the majority of the time, leading us to, well, the regeneration that everybody has been talking about right now and is more than likely in my thumbnail. But before we get there, we do have to explain what the heck happened in this episode, and my god, again guys, it's just bad. Because where we left off last week was with the Doctor falling through the Underverse, the Ronnie's plan essentially winning, and reality was breaking. We start up here with the Doctor again falling through the Underverse just to be saved at the last second by Hotel Lady from Christmas Special utilizing keys over at the Time Hotel to save him. And then we start seeing everything goes back to normal, or as normal as it is within the Wish world. Ruby waking up in her bed surrounded by her adopted mom, and with Belinda waking up in her bed without the Doctor but reaching over for the Doctor. After all that, we end up having the Hotel Lady essentially establish all what's been going on. Why she knows what's been going on, I have no real idea, but she's the one that knows it. So Hotel Lady essentially establishes that in this time period right now, May the 24th is happening over and over and over again. It's not stopping. We're not getting to May the 25th. And because of that, reality and time have been stretching out to its breaking point, and the Time Hotel is about to break, reality is about to break, and that's pretty much it. And she also knows that because of the reality resetting over and over again, even though people end up disappearing, people somehow just justify it as time goes on.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
I don't know how that works out. I don't know how that math works out, and I don't know how Hotel Lady actually knows that, but that's besides the point because, my god, guys, it just gets worse from here. Because then we cut to the Doctor being brought over to his fake house where he lives with Belinda and Poppy, and the Doctor is in Poppy's room essentially. As he's looking over the room, he's interacting with the room, and he's saying, I have a daughter now, I have a daughter. He's acting very emotional about this. Now, everybody would act emotional about the reality that now they have a Doctor via this wish. Everybody would be so overjoyed. But we get the reality later as to why the Doctor is acting this way, and well, I'm just gonna spoil it now. Turns out throughout the gene bomb that destroyed all of the Time Lords, what it actually did was sterilize all the Time Lords. So we ultimately establish that the Doctor can't have kids. Now, when we take this to the last season finale, where the Doctor establishes that he hasn't had kids yet, it's a little bit complicated, it starts really painting this awful picture of decanonizing the sole fact and the sole reality that yes, the Doctor did have kids. Remember, back during Matt Smith's era, he came out and showed that he had a baby crib in the TARDIS. That wasn't his crib, that was his kid's crib. He has said on multiple occasions that he has been a father in the past. We know that he has kids. We know that he has a granddaughter. So how can now those things not be real and also you be sterile? You see the issues being played out here. You see what's happening here and how none of this makes any sense anymore. And I know I revealed one of the big revelations early on in my review right now, but that's just how awful this is gonna get. The reality that the Doctor can't have kids, and that's why he's acting this way when it comes to Poppy, because Poppy's his kid, but not his kid. So through the Doctor now talking upstairs in Poppy's room, Belinda overhears them, calls out to him because she thought the Doctor's gone and was just about to use her whole little brain to basically fix all that. The Doctor then goes downstairs, but decides to, before he shows himself off to Belinda and Poppy. And my god, is it gay as all hell. Because you have to realize what this is doing and what this is establishing. The Doctor was John Smith for the period of time that he was. He was straight. It is against the rules to be gay in this world. It's against the rules to be eccentric, essentially, within this world. So by the Doctor changing his wardrobe, he is flying the middle finger in the face of this world and trying to break people out of this whole hypnosis and this fake reality that they are stuck in right now.
That's so dumb!
After that, the Doctor takes Belinda and little Poppy into the time hotel to break them out of that reality. And then Belinda now realizes that she's not married to the doctor, but Poppy's still there. So that begs the question, what the heck's going on here with Poppy? Because Poppy shouldn't exist, ladies and gentlemen. She's not real. But she is real, but she's not real. So now the doctor, utilizing the time hotel, breaks into unit and starts opening up a bunch of doors throughout unit to break all the unit employees out of their own hypnosis. Real time is breaking into fake time, which is snapping people out of this whole hypnosis thing that they're dealing with. The world starts changing in response to this, and we ultimately see, you know, the robot breaking out of a box that was there this whole time. We see everybody reacting to the fact that, hey, they are now dressed in weird clothes, but they're in units, so they're gonna start trying to save the day. Oh, and mind you, Rose was there the entire time. And the reason Rose is now in this episode and just appears is because Rose was so convoluted that Conrad couldn't think up of Rose even existing. I just have to preface that last week we discovered that yes, if you're disabled or gay, Conrad doesn't even acknowledge you, but you still exist within the world. So the reality that Rose was just too convoluted for Conrad to even imagine is just idiotic. After that, they now are going to go around and wake up all the unit employees. Turns out every single unit employee is chipped like a dog. This is so that they can actually track them when they're on missions and figure out what's going on. Problem is they only have a 10-mile radius. So how are you gonna be seeing these people outside of that 10-mile radius? I don't know, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with here. Kate's plan is to now run a signal through all these chips to break out everybody from their hypnosis trance. By doing this, Mel wakes up, Ruby wakes up, and Cripple Lady wakes up. And not only does Cripple Lady wake up, she ultimately shows off to all the other cripple people that she has the best pimped out wheelchair ever and zips away super fast, causing fire on the street. With all of unit woken up, the doctor brings them to unit tower and starts essentially establishing the game plan here and what's been going on. Again, exposition dumping, basically telling them that the Ronnie's trying to get Omega. Ronnie's built this whole fake world utilizing Conrad. Conrad is utilizing the wish god. All the convoluted nonsense keeps getting thrown out throughout this entire back and forth, just for the Ronnie to then appear in unit towers and teleport in. And this is when we get what the Ronnie's true goal with all this is. It's not just to reawaken Omega, mind you. Her actual goal is to reawaken Omega, get Omega's genes, because Omega has Time Lord DNA, and recreate the Time Lords, because they've been all wiped out through the gene bomb that turned them all sterile. But the doctor ends up pointing to Poppy. And he points out Poppy is real via your wish. Through your wish world, we have Poppy, who is my child and is part Time Lord, essentially. Just for the Ronnie to show off that, well, she's a Time Lord supremacist. It essentially starts degrading humans and Poppy because, well, Poppy's tainted with human DNA. That's crazy! You gotta love how ridiculous this show just keeps getting. Following the back and forth with the Ronnie, essentially war were declared as the Ronnie teleports back to her castle and starts dragging Omega out of the Underverse. Unit prepares for battle and changes the entire unit building into a battle station. Now, this battle station is ridiculous as it is because it's complete with the steering wheel and only 2 angles really you can shoot from. It keeps getting dumber. The Ronnie is now sending the bone beasts after them. Those were those giant bone creatures, which are apparently antibodies for reality, but that's other insane convoluted nonsense throughout this episode. So now with the war beginning, bone beasts attacking, unit firing back, we have the doctor going to Susan, you know, old Susan from last season, and asking her to build what is called a zero chamber, which will hold all the current reality within this chamber because he's going to shove Belinda and Poppy in there in order for them to hopefully survive reality being changed. After that, we end up seeing that Ruby has been fit with this weird backpack that helps her teleport in and out of places. The plan now is for the doctor to utilize the Ronnie's flying scooter thing in order to get into the facility, turn down this special little shield that she has on so that Ruby can get in and converse with Conrad to stop what it is that they're doing right now. So that's essentially what happens. Doctor calls flying scooter thing to come down to pick him up as unit keeps battling the bone beasts, and he flies into the Ronnie's castle and immediately turns down the whole shield surrounding the castle, allowing Ruby to teleport in to Conrad. Went off without a hitch, folks. But now the doctor's staring down the Ronnies, and the Ronnies are looking at the doctor saying, hey, we're about to bring Omega in. We're about to bring him into this world. Aren't you curious? Aren't you excited? Don't you want to bring the Time Lords back? And the doctor says yes. So the doctor just stops doing literally everything just for Omega to be brought back into this world. Mind you, we're at the 30-minute mark, and we're about concluded with the actual Ronnie storyline. Ruby teleports into where Conrad is, and Conrad is just so happened to have a gun pointed at her right where she teleports in. So then Ruby and Conrad start having a conversation, and Ruby essentially is trying to get through Conrad through all the interactions they had with, like, the fact that they did love each other and stuff. But then we cut back over to the Ronnie and the doctor, bringing Omega back into this world. And Omega is revealed to be a giant monstrous creature on par with basically Sutek from last season. Now, for those of you who might not know who Omega is, and I had to do my own little research and be informed by Jed, the Hollywood scholar, on this point, Omega is supposed to basically be a bodiless entity. He's a tragic hero from Time Lord's past and from Time Lord society. He is one of the 3 individuals that brought the Time Lords into existence. Now, by falling into the Underverse, he has gone mad, but he doesn't really have a body or an entity, and he's not this dark demonic creature. He's a tragic hero who is dealing with a lot, and Time Lord society reveres him. They aren't scared of him, especially because he invented time travel technology for the Time Lords. So when you see him now as this monstrous creature, and you hear Shurigatwa essentially say that because of what the Underverse did to him, he became a legendary monster, that's not what would have ever happened to Omega. Omega would have been looked at in a much different light and not seen as a monstrous creature that just wants to feed upon Time Lords. But okay, I mean, this is RTD nowadays, pillaging old Who just to bastardize it. Kind of like Star Wars right now. But monstrous Omega, he grabs new Ronnie and eats new Ronnie. Now, he starts looking over at old Ronnie, and old Ronnie teleports the heck out of there. So now we are left with the doctor facing down monstrous creature, just for the doctor to then walk back over to the clock, grab the Vindicator that is still on there, and use it as a gun to blast Omega back into his tomb and send him back to the Underverse. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what happened. He turned the Vindicator into a gun and used the gun to shoot Omega. The doctor used a gun. Now, when it came to Eccleston's run, yes, the Eccleston picked up a gun one time. That was when he was dealing with the Daleks and he was going through a PTSD moment. The doctor doesn't use guns. What we have here is RTD showing that he never knew Doctor Who, that he never cared about Doctor Who. And this whole notion of why he changed the sonic screwdriver from looking like a screwdriver into a remote because he was scared that it looked like a gun, that's out the window as well, because he used the Vindicator as a gun. And if you look at the Vindicator, it looks pretty damn like a gun there. So where's all your virtue signaling now, RTD? Where's all your choices now? There's a gun. And I know people are going to be in my comment section right now go like, I'm making a big deal out of a very small thing. RTD made this a big deal. For crying out loud, he has the doctor actually using a gun to try to stop somebody. That's not the doctor. But hey, neither is Shurigatwa anymore. So after the Doctor banishes Omega back into his tomb and into the Underverse, Ruby utilizes the power of the Wishing God to wish Conrad to be happy and not be here, and to wish this reality to basically stop. And then we figure out where the heck the TARDIS has been this entire time. Turns out the Ronnie's palace was the TARDIS, and that the Wishing God and Conrad were just in the TARDIS the entire time. Why did the TARDIS explode at the end of Intergalactic Song Contest? I don't know. TARDIS looks fine right now. So the Doctor rushes into the TARDIS, now with Ruby and the Wishing God, and the Doctor uses the Wishing God's power one last time to firmly end everything that we've been dealing with. And the day is saved with the Doctor now landing in front of the Zero Box to show that Belinda and Poppy are still there. We then cut over to the Doctor and Ruby handing off the Wishing God to Ruby's mom. And then we cut back into the TARDIS, where now Belinda and the Doctor are talking about what they're gonna have to do with Poppy, because Poppy is their child and they're gonna want to take Poppy all over space and time. And I will say, a lot of the scene could have been good. And I'll give you my reasons on why I think it could have been good. What we start getting here is Belinda and the Doctor talking about all this wonderful stuff they're going to be doing with Poppy. And you watch as they're folding up Poppy's little vest back and forth in between them. And Ruby is watching this. And Ruby starts noticing that the vest is disappearing more and more and turning into a little cloth, as Belinda and the Doctor keep talking about other grand adventures they're going to go on with Poppy. And you start seeing that Poppy's phasing out of existence. Poppy, being a wish child, is disappearing. And for a vast majority of this time, my thoughts were the Doctor wished Poppy away and is ignoring the fact that he did that just so that he doesn't hurt Belinda. Just for Ruby to essentially keep saying it over and over again, and it coming off like the Doctor knows what's going on and is trying to get Ruby to stop bringing it up because it could be devastating to the timeline and reality right now. And I say this because this is what my perception of the scene and of this back and forth. And as they get into unit and they keep having these conversations back and forth with Ruby just trying to establish that, no, Poppy existed. Poppy was here. Then the show shows you what actually is going on. My idea is so much better because it actually could have given some depth to Shurigatwa's Doctor. It could have given some much needed seriousness as he chose to abandon Poppy because she could have been devastating to reality. She could have been part of reality that could have caused big issues. There's a lot there that you could have worked with on why Poppy no longer exists, and that Ruby will have to be cursed with the knowledge that she always exists, and the Doctor's gonna have to be cursed with the knowledge that he had to give up his own daughter. That could have been a really good storyline, but no, what actually is happening is Poppy doesn't exist. The Doctor doesn't realize Poppy doesn't exist because the Doctor forgot about Poppy, and what's actually happening is there's glitches in reality right now because of everything the Ronnie did. And they go through some of the glitches, like a border's changed and colors are different, and it turns out that Ruby's brain and memory is one of these glitches. So Ruby remembers what happened in the other world, remembers Poppy being there, and because of that, the Doctor is now going to save Poppy after being told by everybody that they're practically his kids. You know, the Doctor can't have kids now. All of UNIT is practically the Doctor's kids because the Doctor saved literally everybody. So what the Doctor decides to do is skew reality just by a little bit to bring Poppy back. And only the Doctor can do this. It's about to get real dumb. What the Doctor decides to do is go into the TARDIS and try to weaponize his Time Lord abilities. Prior to him weaponizing his Time Lord's abilities, guys, we end up seeing Dr. Karen show up to talk to Shurigatwa, all while still validating Shurigatwa over and over and over again, say, man, you're a beautiful person, man, you're really great. Shurigatwa says, I really hope that other guy doesn't show up again. I don't know who that other guy is supposed to be. Part of me thinks maybe David Tennant, maybe one of the other Doctors from times past that shows up a whole lot. But hey, throw some shade out at the other Doctors. Dr. Karen's there because she was sucked into here because what Shooty's about to do is very devastating and could cause a tear in the time stream. And she's been brought here to warn him to not do it. But ultimately decides, no, this is something that even I would do, and then walks away. Yeah, it was just insufferable. It's insane. Dr. Karen ends up leaving, and Shurigatwa uses part of his Time Lord abilities to change reality. We then cut to him laying down face first in grass just for him to wake up outside of a house, and we see that Belinda is there and Poppy is still alive. But now what the doctor did was that he changed all of reality. Not just to bring Poppy back, but to essentially redo everything that he's been on this entire past season. Because why was it originally that Belinda wanted to get back home? Was because she needed to get home in time for work and she missed her mom and dad. We end up changing all that to the reality of to why she needs to get home is because she needs to get home to Poppy, and that Poppy is super important to her. And the other reality is now that Poppy is no longer the doctor's daughter and is actually a daughter between Belinda and some other guy who Belinda and the other guy just didn't work out. So now Belinda is a single mom. So with all that being said, the doctor then has a nice little moment with Poppy in which he basically says he can't have kids and that he really cares about her and blah, 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 blah. And after all that, the doctor says his farewells, goes into the TARDIS, travels away, says that he does not want to be alone, goes to the North Star where Joy is as he regenerates. Now, he should be bi-generating because that's what we were told that all the doctors are going to be doing from now on is bi-generating. But no, he actually regenerates. This is where you say screw you to RTD. You say screw you to the BBC and you say screw you to Disney. Because Shurigatwa regenerates, confirming that he's no longer a part of Doctor Who. And he regenerates into Billy Piper. And for those of you who don't remember who Billy Piper is, I'm really going to be starting to question whether or not you're a Doctor Who fan. Billy Piper's Rose. Billy Piper is a fan favorite character. And we see the Doctor regenerate into her. Now, this isn't out of the realm of insanity here. Remember, when it came to Peter Capaldi played within Fires of Pompeii. It's happened before that a random character regenerates into the Doctor. That's not out of the realm of reality. But what this is RTD, BBC, Disney, choosing to weaponize and prey upon your emotions all over again, like they did with David Tennant, because they're desperate. They know their numbers are bad. They know people have signed out. They know nobody wants to watch this. There is no season 3 confirmed, mind you. People can come out here and say that, oh my God, RTD has 5 seasons all planned out and the BBC will be playing it because they've committed to it. There's no season 3 yet confirmed. But what was said over and over again, we need to see what happens at the end of season 2. We need to see what fan perception is at the end of season 2. That's why they did this. That's why they chose to bring in Billy Piper as the new Doctor. Because they want to weaponize your emotions. They want to prey upon your thoughts, your feelings, your care for these characters. They want to weaponize that against you. So now that they could go around and bastardize Billy Piper. So now that they can have Billy Piper preach to you about how awful you are. They're desperate, they're out of ideas, and that's what this choice was. And you don't really need to care about anything else from this episode. Everything else in this episode doesn't matter because the Doctor undoes it. Doctor can't have kids. I don't know if he can have kids now or not because he changed reality. Doctor doesn't bi-generate anymore, even though RTD said they would be bi-generating anymore. It doesn't matter, changed reality. Everything is gone now because he changed reality. Doesn't matter anymore. None of this matters anymore. And when you look at the overnight viewership numbers for this final episode, guys, that's only 17 more than the season premiere. Nobody's watching this. Nobody's engaging with this. And yeah, we finally have the consolidated numbers for Intergalactic Song Contest. But what I want to point out with those numbers, remember, the FA Cup was on prior and then Eurovision was on after. And when you take a look at those numbers, what you're actually seeing is when you take into account the overnights and consolidated viewership, that's only an increase of 0.76. That's not a massive increase here. And when you look at all the other overnights compared to consolidated numbers, they all increased by almost 1 million. Didn't happen when it came to Intergalactic Space Contest. Probably not going to happen when it comes to last week's episode. And probably not going to happen when it comes to this week's episode. Doctor Who's dead. Nobody's watching. These numbers can't justify a season 3. Disney's signing out. Nobody's wanting to engage anymore. The show's over. And it's all because of RTD. RTD was brought on to try to save Doctor Who, and all he did was manage to kill it. But hey, that's just my take on all this. But let me get your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below. Give me your thoughts on the episode. Give me what you think about what's going on here and what your thoughts are for Doctor Who moving forward. Is it going to stay around or is it going to be over? But until next time, guys, bye for now.